Well, it's rivalry week in Major League Baseball, if you want to call it that. My name is Derek Monty, occasionally known as your mayor PHNX. This guy's Large and Smith, a.k.a. Kevin Thomas here. Great to have you guys here joining us because we are going to talk about the real rivals of the Arizona Diamondbacks. This weekend, the Diamondbacks have been matched up with the Colorado Rockies, which is fine. It's a division team. We talked about it a little bit the other day. Perhaps the Rockies even have a few reasons to be on this list, but if you are a Diamondbacks fan, I doubt that when you think of rivals of this team, the first team that comes to mind is the Colorado Rockies.
1000%. We've been talking about it all week on the show. It feels like this is like geographical rivalry week, but even then,
there's things that don't make sense.
Yeah,
and we're going to
like
talk about
Colorado, Arizona. Is that really a
actually,
geographical rivalry? I don't even know.
Not even the closest team in the National League West to the Arizona Diamondbacks, let alone geographically make any sense. It's just because whatever. You guys have a border that touches, so go ahead. But I think, do you want to do this backwards or from the top? Because I think that we should start with number 5.
Let's go backwards.
Okay,
yeah.
So starting at number 5, I have a couple of teams to choose from.
Okay.
And one of them is your St. Louis Cardinals.
Wow.
The reason why is because the Diamondbacks it is one of, I believe, 4 teams that the Diamondbacks have faced multiple times in the playoffs, including the Colorado Rockies.
Yes.
So again, the Rockies do deserve to be at least part of this discussion, I guess, as well. But I myself see that the Diamondbacks rival would be the Texas Rangers in this spot because they lost a World Series to them. Is that too dramatic over one series essentially being the case?
I think, when you look at like how rivalries often start, there's important playoff implications to every single one of them. So I think maybe you having them at 5 on the list is almost like a projection. It's almost like because there's now this history, this World Series ties, you'll always remember them, and it'll always mean a little bit more because you're trying to get that back for that one time you really wanted that ring.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so hard to against an American League team. It's the reason why the Yankees would also qualify for this. But if you're talking about rivals that Diamondbacks fans consider to be rivals, teams that make us sick, I don't know if it's the Yankees, right? Because we got over on the Yankees. We won that World Series, right? We own them as far as we are concerned, and they still haven't gotten any kind of retribution for that. But however, I think like the amount of Yankees fans that there are in existence tend to bother Diamondbacks fans. Literally, this list is going to be comprised of fans that come to Chase Field in big numbers that bother us. But the Texas Rangers, I mean, they are a team I feel like, you eat Texas and Phoenix, that just kind of feels right. It feels very Old West. It feels like those are two teams.
Very Alamo.
Yeah, very Alamo, very like showdown. That kind of makes sense for me. But also, I don't think there's a Diamondbacks fan that can see a Texas Rangers jersey right now.
No, yeah.
Without getting a little sick about it.
And that's kind of what I was saying, right? Like, and additionally, the fact that it's an AL team makes it all that more special when you do face them because you don't get like we're about to get into all the division teams like on this list, right? Because you do have those built-in rivalries because you face them so often. But in the inverse, the teams you face even less, sometimes you want it even more. And I think the Rangers could be an example of that. So I actually agree with you in that. I think they are my 5-slot team. There are just so many teams you could put in that 5 because you're kind of splitting hairs when you get down to it.
Well, and again, the Rockies, right? The Diamondbacks took the wild card game from them, but then the Rockies skunked them when they played in the National League Championship Series. So, but again, I don't know if a lot of people think of the Rockies at all. And again, that's also because they've just been bad for a number of years.
It's hard to think of the Rockies without feeling pain, right? Like,
feeling sadness for them.
Feeling sadness, pity, empathy, sorrow.
Right. Another team, let's slot in. We're going to slot in the Texas Rangers at number 5. The next team is, for me, the San Diego Padres.
Okay.
This weekend, the San Diego Padres are inexplicably matched up with the Seattle Mariners. Only, Kevin, there is an explanation, and it's a very, very stupid one. It's called the Vedder Cup.
Which is what, Derek?
The Vedder Cup, Kevin, is named after Pearl Jam lead singer Eddie Vedder. Right.
Oh.
And now Eddie Vedder is a very well-known baseball fan, and he has spent a significant time in both of these cities. I do believe that Seattle was obviously where he made his home and that he started things with Pearl Jam and became very famous there. I believe he now resides in San Diego and is a big citizen of that city. Good citizen. Like San Diego a lot. However, he does not like their baseball team, nor does he like the Mariners. Eddie Vedder is a Chicago Cubs fan, which makes this cup very stupid. And I imagine even he's like, what are you guys doing? I don't like either team. I just lived in these cities, right? They also both share a spring training facility by my house in Peoria. But neither of those reasons are good enough for me, for those teams to be matching up over Rivalry Weekend. The Diamondbacks and the Padres just kind of hate each other. And I feel like this is kind of a thing, especially here in the NL West, of two teams that have a combined one World Series between the two of them, basically vying for what feels like second place a lot of times in the National League West. Thank God for Torey Lovullo and his JV speech to the Diamondbacks that kind of got them to muster something up in 2023, right? But it does feel like the Padres and the Diamondbacks both kind of do play JV to the Dodgers, and that's kind of why it feels like a rivalry that makes sense.
Yeah, no, and I honestly I have the Padres on my list. They're not in my 4 spot.
Oh, they're higher than that?
They are higher than that.
I'm gonna give you another reason why, because this is based on geography, right?
Yes.
Distance.
It's supposed to be.
San Diego is the closest city to Phoenix of any of these teams. Of any team in baseball, in fact. It's 354 miles away. Takes 5 hours and 17 minutes. That'll change once the Athletics move to Las Vegas, but Lord knows if that's even ever going to happen. Which, by the way, the Athletics are playing San Francisco, and that feels right. That feels right. And then the fact that San Diego, San Diego and Phoenix playing each other, that just seems to make sense to me, but it didn't make sense to Major League Baseball. By the way, I think it's like double that distance to get to Colorado from Phoenix.
Unbelievable. My 4 spot, Derek,
what do you got?
Is not the Padres, it's the Phillies.
The Phillies.
It is the Phillies because you talk about I don't know. I don't really care what the players feel like in the locker room. If they want to let us know what their favorite rivalries are, whatever. Sure. You're pretty much going off of how fans feel. Right? Yeah. Fans hate the Phillies. Diamondbacks fans hate Phillies fans in general.
Yeah.
If Damon was here, the beloved Damon dog, he might have him at 2.
He'd probably put him at 1.
Right.
Just based on Garrett Stubbs alone.
We're getting to number 1 eventually. But I have the Phillies here. I think the Phillies being a team that's always competitive right now in the current iteration of the team, the Diamondbacks kind of being one of the teams that if you are trying to get to the World Series, it's likely you're going to have to get through a team like the Phillies.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And you talked in the beginning about teams that fill up Chase Field when they come to town. The Phillies are one of those teams. They think at least they're one of those teams. So
the problem with the Phillies is kind of like the same reason why I don't have the St. Louis Cardinals on this list is like I feel like they have better rivalries. So if we're talking about better rivalries, right? The Phillies have the Mets. The Phillies have every team in the NL East, just like the Diamondbacks do with the NL West. Like that's no different. But yeah, I mean, I just feel like there's bigger fish for the Phillies to fry.
There is.
And that was a lot of in one sentence. Also, Phoenix and Philly. So that makes a lot of sense as well. But they also share a Mega Ran, by the way, who's currently in Philadelphia, pledging his allegiance currently to that city. But he does call Phoenix home. So there is the maybe the Mega Ran Cup could be
the Mega Ran Cup.
Where do you have the Padres then? Do you have them in your 3rd spot?
I do.
Okay.
I do have, I do have them. I was thinking about it, moving them into the 2 spot because I really didn't know who I wanted in my 3rd.
Okay.
Because like I said, the first one is clear, right? The second one I think is a little bit less clear for me personally because I'm a transplant, right?
You have different feelings.
So I think honestly in my 3rd spot, I think I'm going to stay within the division from here on out. And I think I'm going to go with the Rockies battle for purple.
Okay.
MLB is stamping it by making it rivalry week. And who am I? Who am I to tell the league what to do? They're telling me it's a rivalry. They're trying to make it a thing.
You're a man.
I'm going to help them out.
You have an opinion.
Stamp
you
it.
have a voice. You can disagree. You are somebody, Kevin.
No, I understand, but I think
the aforementioned reasons for sure.
They're just so bad. Yeah. The Rockies are just so bad. But you alluded to it. The distance is almost double. You could have, I think, any of the division teams in this range, in my opinion. But there are some underlying things with the Rockies. Battle for purple. I think battle for mountains is a real thing as well. They go in my 3rd because I guess that's just what the league wants. I'd be remiss to not have them on my list.
Again, this goes back to my statement from Don Draper, which is I don't think about you at all when it comes to the Colorado Rockies. The team I do think about, because I'm old and have been watching this team for a long time, is my 3rd place team, and that's the Milwaukee Brewers.
Oh, yeah, good point.
Yeah, I mean, the Diamondbacks have a lot of hatred there towards the Brewers. We need not forget about some of the things that have transpired, including, what the Diamondbacks' first postseason win since 2007 happened against the Brewers in 2023. And then you also have that notorious 5-game loss to the Brewers in the NLDS in 2011 when the Diamondbacks were kind of a red-hot team at the time, and they got stopped by one Ryan Braun and his performance-enhancing bat. I don't know. I got to keep it. I can't get sued here, but yeah.
You know what happened. You know what happened.
You know what happened. I'll have
Ryan
to go
Braun
over
knows what happened. You know what happened. And also, Derek, I'd like to make a revision based on new information that has been brought to my attention, and that's called maturity.
Based on new evidence in the case.
And you've jogged my memory a little bit. I think based on the way that last season went and the way that certain games, I'll say, against the Brewers have ended, maybe not in the benefit of the Diamondbacks, does give way more credence to this being in the third spot than the Rockies even being on my list. I did kind of say it in jest, but after I said it, I was like, this is my list. This is going out there.
Yeah.
I can't have the Rockies third on my list.
Yeah.
And so, new information has been brought to my attention, ladies and gentlemen, and I, Kevin Thomas, am revising my list, and the Rockies have been removed like they should be removed from the MLB.
Relegation isn't a worse idea.
It's not.
And I do rest my case, Your Honor. But let's get to number 2 and number 1. Obviously, we know that the Dodgers are there for both of us. Where do you have the Dodgers on your list?
The Dodgers are number 1.
Okay.
The hatred between the fan bases is real. Whether the Dodgers fans want you to think about it or not, they really definitely think about Diamondbacks fans.
If you're talking about the Diamondbacks' top rivals with fans, I also have to agree with you and put the Dodgers at number 1. Of course, this is with the argument that a lot of people understand where the Dodgers have a lot of rivals. So we aren't even on their radar maybe at times. Maybe this is much like a Colorado Rockies situation, but I don't think so because I know Dodgers.
Did you just compare
fans,
the Diamondbacks to the Rockies?
Well, I'm just saying in the grand, in the idea that they have a list of rivals and we might not even be in the top 5 for them, right?
I got you.
So again, it might be that Don Draper, I don't think about you at all kind of thing. However, I don't know if that's true because the Diamondbacks have been built to beat the Dodgers, much like the San Diego Padres have been built to beat the Dodgers. And they have beaten the Dodgers in the playoffs recently. I'm sure you all remember 2023.
How can we forget?
How can we forget, right? So I think that there is real hatred there. The Dodgers and Diamondbacks have a number of fights between them in history. That's something. Mark McGwire turning into the Incredible Hulk and going after, and that was him as a coach. It was crazy. But yeah, I mean, for me, I still feel like my top rival for the Diamondbacks is the Tampa Bay Rays. However, I have them at number 2 based on this kind of being categorized as teams that Diamondbacks fans hate, right? Like that kind of rival.
Yeah.
I don't even know if a lot of Diamondbacks fans would even have the Tampa Bay Rays on this list. However,
I don't think many teams would have the Rays on this list.
Right. But again, it's because of a very specific series of situations that link these two teams together. This is a sibling rivalry, as I brought up the other day, right? This is two teams that were born at the same time, came into the league the same time, still have eerily similar records and a lot of stats that line up that are very, very close. Outside of the Diamondbacks' one World Series win, the two teams have, the trip to the World Series that they didn't win. The two teams both did it in seasons where they had scrappy young guys kind of surprise the league and come up and kind of be an underdog that took the world by storm, made it all the way up to, World Series and unfortunately didn't get the job done. There is a lot of similarities between the Tampa Bay Rays and the Diamondbacks. Both have some problems with their stadiums going on right now. At least our roof was fixed and theirs still isn't. But
damn.
Yeah, I mean, Tampa Bay Rays for me is that's the team that if we were talking about Rivalry Weekend that I would have them match up with. Again, they're matched up with the Marlins, and that's definitely just the Battle of Florida. So that one is just geographical. And I think there's other matchups that could have been made that would have, felt a little bit more like a rivalry. Obviously, there's plenty around baseball, right? I think maybe the Yankees and the Mets might be a rivalry, but if you think of a Yankees rivalry, it's obviously the Boston Red Sox. When you think of the St. Louis Cardinals, it's obviously the Cubs, right? Like, so there's just matchups like that aren't happening this weekend, which makes me feel a little better about the Diamondbacks being matched up with the Rockies.
Yeah, my 2 spot is actually the Tampa Bay Rays as well, mostly because of this mayor's influence right here.
I'm an influential person.
The sibling rivalry is huge in this, right? I think the biggest reason that this comes in at number 2 for me personally and not number 3, as opposed to that on my list, because I was debating between putting this 3rd or 2nd, was when you look back on the history of Major League Baseball, you don't want to remember the expansion teams that came in at the same time so differently. And if you do remember them so differently, you want to be the positive one, right? So if you're the Diamondbacks, you don't want to be the expansion team that came in the same time as the Rays that doesn't have the level of success that the Rays do when it's all said and done. When people are looking back on it, you want to be remembered as the team that dominated when they came into the league and was able to build an incredible franchise in the expansion. And I think you've alluded to it on the show and here as well. The eerie similarities between their records and their accolades are so similar at this point. So it is kind of incumbent upon the D-backs to take charge of this so-called sibling rivalry, if you want to call it that. And that's why I have it at my 2 spot, because I think it has so much actual historical relevance when you talk about teams that come into the league at the same time. I think those are the teams that historically you're compared to. So
all-time record. Diamondbacks have an all-time record of 2105 and to 2,105 wins to 2,201 losses.
Got you.
Rays, 2,107 wins. 2 more wins, 2,197 losses. Rays have a slight edge in the head-to-head matchup. They are 20-11 all-time against the Diamondbacks. So, yeah, they slot in there. They have enough wins against us in this rivalry to make it feel like I hate them. So
you also
there is no team I hate more than the Dodgers, right?
1,000%. No, yeah, there's no way. Like, there's just so much vitriol between like Dodgers fans and Diamondbacks fans. Like the comments, the fly between fans on social media, in the stadium, in the stands. There's just so much more emotional baggage tied to the Diamondbacks and the Dodgers that this is really a top 4, and you're all fighting for numbers 2 through 5.
Yeah.
Because the Dodgers rivalry is unbelievable.
You're right.
Like, I don't know. People take it to crazy levels when the Dodgers come to town. So I'll leave it at that. And that rivalry is a blood rivalry at this point for sure.
Well, he's Kevin. You can get him at Kevo Posts. I'm Derek. You can get me at Cap_Caveman with a K. Of course, our show is at PHNX_D-backs. But as always, all roads lead to at PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Thank you guys for your time. Appreciate you. Remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it's so much more fun when you know who your rival is.